Do you struggle with making nice clean cuts through cardboard? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how I use my typical box cutter knives to make nice, crispy cuts through cardboard. Hello and welcome to Maker Brain. I'm Eli, and on this channel I help you access and implement your creativity through hands-on DIY projects. And new videos come out every other week to help you with the best techniques, tips, and tools for creators just like you. So if that sounds like your kind of jam, then consider subscribing. So I'm going to tell you right now that a cutting mat like this one, along with a sharp knife, is going to give you the cleanest and best results with your cardboard cuts versus really almost anything else. But there are a few other finesse things I'll let you know later in the video, as well as some of the mistakes you might be making when you're in a pinch and can't really use a cutting mat for various reasons. Now, the first and worst way to cut cardboard is just straight up in the air. This is a piece of cardboard where I've done a whole bunch of tests. So you can kind of see the back is just a regular piece of cardboard, all cut with this fairly sharp knife, a pretty good representation of how sharp your knife probably will be. And you might be tempted in a pinch just to kind of have your cardboard up here in the air and cut it just free floating, but problem with that is that it's gonna give you a pretty mangled looking cut. It's gonna be a little bit hairy and also gonna have a burr on both sides. So what a burr is, it's like a little ridge on the side of your cut, often referred to when you're manufacturing with metal. When you cut something, you get a burr and you have to sand that off. But with cardboard, it can also happen when you're cutting it with your knife. Obviously, you don't want a little ridge on the side of your cut. That's not clean. So cutting in the air is a pretty bad way to cut cardboard. But what about something like the carpeted floor? It's a pretty nice soft surface, so you're not going to like puncture it. The knife's just gonna kind of slide through it, right? Well, I mean, it's true, it won't like damage your blades, but it is also going to give you a burr and kind of hairy side on one side of your cardboard, the back side. So if this was my piece and I was cutting it right here, it's going to give you hairs and burrs along this edge. So, I mean, it's not terrible, but also it is difficult to cut and start your cuts. So when you have it on the carpet, it absorbs the pressure and then the sides will push up, and as you can see, it's kind of crushing in before it actually starts cutting. So that makes cutting on the cardboard kind of difficult, and it's also very hard to cut small sections for that same reason. It just kind of crushes it down. Another important thing to note when cutting cardboard on the carpet is that it's more difficult to cut with the grain than against the grain. So against the grain would be this way, because I'm cutting through a whole bunch of grain pieces, and then if you look right here, it's just like one solid line. That would be cutting with the grain. So this is with the grain. These are all my tests going that way. And cutting with the grain is going to give you an even worse and more hairy result than cutting against the grain. Cutting on the carpet is a okay solution, but it really isn't great either. If you're getting value out of this video, then please take a moment of your time to activate the like button to give this video a little bit extra turbo juice to reach more people. Okay, so you're like, I'm not going to cut on the carpet, I'm not going to cut in the air, but I don't want to buy a cutting mat because just on a budget, or you're just in a pinch and can't use one. Well, the next best solution would be to replace the cutting mat with a sacrificial piece of cardboard. If this is the piece that I'm cutting, this is my sacrificial piece, and I want to cut this line, imagine it wasn't already cut, I would put this right here and then use it like my cutting mat and just cut right along here. The problem with this is that cardboard is harder than the cutting mat, as opposed to being kind of clayish like. The cutting mat is obviously very hard, but it absorbs the cut. Cardboard is kind of stiff and almost brittle in comparison, so it is harder to puncture into this, which means that when you're cutting along here, doing your cuts, it results in not always getting all the way through, because your knife blade will sometimes kind of deflect off of this. It doesn't like puncture through as well, so you'll have to go over with a second pass oftentimes, and that just leaves more opportunity for you to make a mistake, but it is still by far the next best option. And also, it leaves a little tiny burr on the bottom. It's more clean looking than the other one, and particularly with the grain cuts, it leaves a little bit more of a burr. But now, as earlier mentioned, a cutting mat is the best way to cut, and it's easy to cut with and against the grain, as well as towards and away the edge. So towards and away from the edge, you might be wondering what I'm saying. Well, if I'm cutting this piece of cardboard here, and I have my knife go through right here, and I cut down this way, that's cutting towards the edge. and if I go and start at the edge and cut down this way, that's cutting away from the edge. Some pieces, it's harder to do it one way than the other, and that's just something you kind of learn on your own, and it's not totally super particular to which piece of material, but it is usually easier to cut starting inside here, starting and going towards the edge, because you have the whole cardboard to support it here, as opposed to if I'm cutting this way, it's also a little less safe because I don't have as much material to hold on to when I'm starting right here. And that means that I might end up slicing down into my thumb, and trust me, that is not fun. So that's everything I know about cutting cardboard cleanly. So that brings us to the question of the day. Do you cut cardboard with a cutting mat, or maybe are you on more of a budget and found some other awesome, cheap solution that works well for you? Let everyone know in the comments below, and that would be awesome. But if you're not in the commenting sort of mood, you can totally learn more about working with cardboard with the playlist right there. That's my cardboard basics playlist. It's got a lot of videos about just the basics of working with cardboard and things you can implement to make your creations a lot better. And the video that popped up there is my latest upload, and you can check that out as well. I'm Eli Tennant, this is Maker Brain, and God bless you.